Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is Sunday, March 15th, 2026, day after St. Patrick's Day. And in contrast to St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to be talking about silence. We were scheduled to have a workshop yesterday and realized late in the game, sometime in the middle of the week, that in fact, yesterday, was St. Patrick's Day, which in AA we used to call amateur hour. And soon there would be bedraggled people walking up and down the street and making a lot of noise. So since this could be the first time that some people in the workshop have ever sat, certainly that they've ever sat in a Zendo, we decided to postpone and maybe have a better experience a month later. Yeah, silence. Really, silence, I think it's fair to say, silence is the key to Zazen, the key to meditation, the key to working with the mind. It's not necessarily silence outside. You could have St. Patrick's Day going on in all its manifold glory and still do good Zazen. It's not easy, but silence we're talking about is the silence of the mind, not grabbing, not shrinking, working with no agenda, just being here. So easy to do, and it's so easy to understand it intellectually that it's easy to write off, easy to just sort of forget about it. And the next thing you know, we're caught up in the condition of an untrained mind. We're in the midst of fears and resentments, grasping and aversion, what we like, what we don't like, where we want to go, memories of where we think we've been. It's a mess. So much of what we do with the mind is unconscious. It's reactive. Our sort of job one for almost everyone is to protect ourselves, to get what we need and avoid what we hate, avoid what hurts. And that's kind of what's driving things for most of us. So when you sit down and try to do Zazen, you really are going against the grain. You're going against your conditioning. I think almost every workshop I make the point that sitting down and doing Zazen is like hopping out of an inner tube, floating down a stream, and trying to stand in the stream bed. You don't know until you try what the force of that habitual thought is, how strong that tide is, how strong that stream is. Ramana Maharshi, the great Indian sage, said, when there are thoughts, it is distraction. When there are no thoughts, it is meditation. The author Franz Kafka said, "You do not need to leave your room. Remain sitting at your table and listen. Do not even listen. Simply wait. Be quiet, still, and solitary. The world will freely offer itself to you to be unmasked. It has no choice. It will roll in ecstasy at your feet." I was reading something a while back from some of the medieval Christian mystics, and one of them said, when the mind is silent, God has no choice. He has to enter. The key is not to have an agenda, not to be trying to do something, not to be looking over your own shoulder to see how it's going. I think seems like so much of what people bring to Doksan is, here's how it's going. I'm doing well. I'm not doing so well. And that just reflects where most of us are in our practice. We've got one eye on how it's going, which there's some justification for that. If you're wandering all over the map, if you're lost in thought, it's good to notice. But you will notice. Don't have to be anticipating problems before they arise. No agenda, just interest. Seeing what happens. May have done the experiment many, many times, but each time is new. So we take a hands-off approach. There's a metaphor occurred to me some time back. If you've ever watched The Simpsons, there's a nice little sequence before the episode begins. See Homer tossing a piece of uranium out of his coat and Bart on his skateboard. And at some point, Marge is in the car. I hope you know The Simpsons, otherwise this is all gobbledygook. Marge is in the car, and Maggie, the baby, is in a baby seat sitting next to her. And Maggie has a little play steering wheel. And every time Marge honks the horn, Maggie makes the same gesture. And when they swerve around a corner, Maggie spins her wheel. And that's kind of what we're like. We're steering, we're braking, we're honking. We think we're controlling the mind, but it's just a pretend steering wheel. We don't have that power. We don't have the ability to decide, this is the condition of my mind that I am going to create. Lo, look at me. Look what I can do with my mind. It doesn't work that way. In workshops, we always trot out the good old reliable snow globe and shake it up. The flakes, of course, represent the condition of our mind, all our thoughts swirling about. And the only way to get those flakes to settle is to set the snow globe down. Stop stirring, stop shaking, stop manipulating, stop criticizing, judging. Stop caring so much. Stop protecting yourself. There's another metaphor that the Chinese teacher Sheng Yan uses. He said, meditation is like using a fan, the old-fashioned handheld type. You have the task of catching a feather on the fan. Every time you move the fan, the feather is likely to be blown away, so it's a delicate business. You have to hold the fan quite still just under the space through which the feather is sinking of its own motion. The feather then comes to rest on the top of the fan. You can imagine how difficult or how easy this may be. Any use of force, and the feather is lost. The minute you try to move the fan towards the feather, of course, you're just going to blow it away. This is a perfect image of what happens in our zazen when we try to seal the deal. We try to grasp the object of our practice, try to grasp the koan, grasp the breath. Any use of force in the feather is lost. Yet, once you grasp the principle, it's something very easy to do. Stilling the mind is like catching a feather with a fan. It needs patience and persistence. When practicing, do not be afraid of a distracting thought. If your body has a problem, do not be concerned with it. If your mind is worrying, put the worry down. Keep the mind on the method, waiting for the feather to sink onto the fan. Supposing you're in a very good situation, no distractions, no wandering thoughts, whatever you do, do not congratulate yourself. Away goes the feather at once. So don't be happy. Do not think how successful you are. Just observe the situation without movement towards or away. If the mind moves, wandering thoughts begin. I've mentioned this before, but I was watching a basketball game once, and Michael Jordan made, I think, 7 three-point shots in a row, just on fire. And then as he was running by his own bench, he sort of shrugged his shoulders, saying, "Hey, how about that?" And I said at the time, he will miss the next shot. And he did. Made me feel pretty good about myself. It's gradually, and we have to keep making the same mistake. We have to keep bumping up into our own idiocy. To the extent that we're concerned with results, we're absolutely standing in the way. We're tying ourselves to the dock. You can row the boat all you want, but you're not going out into the middle of the ocean when you're concerned with results. That quote that Dara Sensei trotted out last week from André Gide. You can't see the ocean without leaving the shore. Of course, it's not just concerned with results. There's so many different thoughts that can hijack the mind. We may not be thinking about our practice at all. We may be thinking about an exam we have to take, or a relationship that's going south, or any number of different things. In my early days, I spent a lot of time thinking about getting drafted and being sent to Vietnam. There are a lot of things that can come up, and it seems hard to leave them aside. The thoughts themselves are not the problem. It's our attachment. It's our grasping and aversion. We like them, we don't like them. In Buddhism, the Buddha taught that thoughts are one of 6 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. But somehow the stickiest of the 6 senses is definitely our thoughts. You can see the same thing happen, though, with other sensations, with sound, for instance. It can be really difficult if St. Patrick's Day is going on outside the Zendo, or if somebody's walking by in the evening having an animated conversation. It takes practice to be able to just let it go. Really learning to hear, so fundamental to awareness, to being present. Of all the senses, hearing is the most immediate, it seems. With sight, what you see depends on where you direct your eyes, but with the ears, it doesn't matter. Behind, in front, to the side, it all comes in. And silence, when it comes to sound, means just hearing the sound, not anticipating, not commenting. There's a guy named Gordon Hempton, was a guest of Krista Tippett's, who had, probably still has, a show on public radio, Speaking of Faith. It may have a new name now, I'm not sure. Anyway, she interviewed him, and he told this story. He said, "I grew up thinking that I was a listener, except on my way to graduate school one time, I simply pulled over, making the long drive from Seattle, Washington to Madison, Wisconsin, pulled over in a field to get some rest, and a thunderstorm rolled over me. And while I lay there and the thunder echoed through the valley and I could hear the crickets, I just simply took it all in. And then I realized that I had a whole wrong impression of what it meant to actually listen. I thought that listening meant focusing my attention on what was important even before I had heard it, and screening out everything that was unimportant even before I had heard it. I'd been paying a lot of attention to people, but I really hadn't been paying a lot of attention to what is all around me. And it was on that day that I really discovered what it means to be alive as another animal in a natural place. It's helpful to remember we're animals, fundamentally. He says, that changed my life. And I had one question, and that was, how could I be 27 years old and have never truly listened before? I knew for me I was living life incredibly wrong. So I abandoned all my plans. I dropped out of graduate school. I moved to Seattle, took my day job as a bike messenger, and had only one goal, and that was to become a better listener. It's really it's an inspiring story. Somebody who hit on what for him was important and just turned it all around. I think what he does now is travel around the world and record sounds. He's got special equipment, and it's all in the service of learning to truly listen. It's so amazing when all the chaff falls away, when we're not anticipating what comes next. It takes fearlessness not to worry about what comes next, not to keep an eye on it, just to let things come in. Really is the essence of meditation. That's what it means to go into silence, not thinking. think it's another level of difficulty to treat the sixth sense, the mind of thoughts, in that same way, to be able to just let thoughts arise, move through the mind, and go, which they will do. But it's hard to do. It's hard to do. Our initial impulse is to try to somehow shut them out. They feel intrusive. But as Roshi is fond of saying, our brain is an organ that secretes thoughts. It's very unusual not to have some shadow of a thought in the mind. And if that's our approach, trying to block them, that doesn't work real well. It certainly doesn't work for life. We're moving through a world of thoughts and decisions and people and conversation. So why is it, if thoughts are just one of the six senses, why are they so problematic? Liking and disliking, self-concern, all the habitual attitudes we have towards ourselves. How many of us are bedeviled by that feeling of I'm not good enough, or the feeling of other people are not good enough, they don't measure up. Either way, we're lost. I want to continue with this sort of parallel between sound and thoughts, because thoughts really are like kind of a weird sort of sound in your head. So if you can learn to deal with sounds you don't like, it gives you a leg up on dealing with thoughts you may not like. There's a story of Ajahn Chah. Thai forest master. And there's a story told about him by, the version I saw was recounted by another Ajahn, another teacher, Ajahn Amaro. I think he may be a Westerner, imagine he is. And he told this story about Ajahn Chah. He said he knew that cutting yourself off was not the place of true inner peace. And this was because of his own years of trying to make the world shut up and leave him alone. He failed miserably. Eventually he was able to see this is not how to find completion and resolution. Years ago, he was a wandering monk living on his own on a mountainside above a village and keeping a strict schedule of meditation. Now in Thailand, they love outdoor night-long film shows because the nights are cool compared to the very hot days. And whenever there was a party, it tended to go on all night. I've experienced this. Says about 50 years ago, public address systems were just starting to be used in Thailand, and every decent event had to have a PA going. It blasted as loud as it possibly could all through the night. One time, Ajahn Chah was sitting quietly meditating up on the mountain. A festival was going on down in the village. All the local folk songs, pop culture were amplified throughout the area, and he sat there seething and thinking, don't they realize all the bad karma involved in disturbing my meditation? They know I'm up here. After all, I'm their teacher. Haven't they learned anything? What about the precepts? I bet they're boozing and out of control, and so on and so forth. But Ajahn Chah was a pretty smart fellow. As he listened to himself complaining, he quickly realized, well, they're just having a good time down there. I'm making myself miserable up here. No matter how upset I get, my anger is just making more noise internally. And then he had this insight. Oh, The sound is just the sound. It's me who's going out to annoy it. If I leave the sound alone, it won't annoy me. It's just doing what it has to do. That's what sound does. It makes sound. That's its job. So if I don't go out and bother the sound, it's not going to bother me. Aha! I find with the people walking by the Zendo on a warm evening, with their conversations, if I just hear the sound without following the words, it becomes so much less of a problem. It's like the background noise in a Peanuts cartoon. When the adults talk, it's always wah, 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 wah. La, la, la. We get caught up. We have preferences, we have opinions, we have resentment, outrage, despair. It's all coming from us. It's not coming from the sound. Sheng Yan talked once about one time he was practicing, I'm not sure where, it was outdoors somewhere, but he was sleeping nearby a couple of masters, both of whom snored. And he couldn't fall asleep. And then he decided, wait a minute, let me just treat this as sound. Thunder, wind in the trees, snoring. And he was able to go asleep. He would recommend that to students in Sesshin. When you're in another room with someone snoring, it is possible to let it go. When you develop that ability, of course, it's something that you can apply to so many different areas of your life. Don't go out and bother it. Everything that passes through is just doing what it does. It's always our reaction. The calls are coming from inside the house. Ajahn Amaro goes on, as it turned out, this insight had such a profound effect that it became a principle that he espoused from that time on. If any of the monks displayed an urge to try and get away from people, stimulation, the world of things and responsibilities, he would tend to shove them straight into it. He would put that monk in charge of the cement mixing crew, or make him do every house blessing that came up on the calendar. He would make sure that the monk had to get involved in things because he was trying to teach him to let go of seeing meditation as needing sterile conditions, to see, in fact, that most wisdom arises from the skillful handling of the world's abrasions. Our willingness to be with things as they are is what opens us up. That is opening right there. We recite the verses on the faith mind. The great way is not difficult for those who do not pick and choose. When preferences are cast aside, the way stands clear and undisguised. Even slight distinctions made, set earth and heaven far apart. If you would clearly see the truth, discard opinions pro and con. We have to do this. We really have to work at this. This is practice. And in fact, every time we run into difficulty, it's an opportunity to learn to do this. There's no time when this doesn't apply. This isn't just when we're sitting on the cushion. The only reason for sitting on the cushion is that it's a little easier. What we learn, we need to take into our lives and develop it in our lives. When you begin to see it that way, every annoying person is a blessing. Every disappointment, every fear. We have this idea that somehow or other we have to gear ourselves up, that we have to armor ourselves in order to deal with difficult stuff. But really, meditation can be instantaneous. The whole basis of practice is awareness. And awareness really is independent of our manipulation. Simply arises. Sounds come to the ear. We see things with our eyes. Don't decide we're going to do that. We're alive. It all comes in. When we find we're confused or distracted or whatever, don't have to work our way back. Just turn and look. It's okay to be confused. Just watch that. It's okay to be afraid. Feel it. See it in the body. Get to know it. Learn from it. Such a different way of going after life. Instead of going after it, you're letting it come to you. You're being it. Of course, we may understand this. We may understand that acceptance can change our lives, but it takes practice. In the beginning, far beyond the beginning, our understanding doesn't go deep enough. Keep taking the bait. One of the most useful things is to see what happens when you make an ass of yourself. When you screw up. Boy, the conditioning just comes pounding in then, doesn't it? Someone who worked with my wife once told us, one aw shit wipes out 100 attaboys. To turn around and see that, just to be interested in it. It's instead of trying to escape, instead of trying to make things better, see how they are. In Buddhism, it's taught everything arises because of causes and conditions. There's really no room for blame or for praise. Just all playing out. What we do and how we use the mind determines a lot of how it plays out. But it's always outside of our control, outside of our manipulation. Understanding this, understanding that people are just doing themselves. They just are what they are. We are just what we are. Our shortcomings are the result of everything that went before. Same with our successes. You have to be kind to yourself and kind to others. Such a fundamental principle. Right now, it's like this. How could it be any other way? It's now. have the faith to keep opening up, keep letting go. There's a guy, I think he was a sculptor, named Henry Moore, who said, "The secret of life is to have a task, something you devote your entire life to, something you bring everything to every minute of the day for your whole life. And the most important thing is, it must be something you cannot possibly do." It's a terrific description of Zen practice, any true spiritual practice. The effort is showing up. The effort is dropping what we've inadvertently picked up. The effort is just opening. It's not controlling. It's not spinning that toy steering wheel. It's not beating ourselves up. As it starts to sink in, it's really a joy to practice. It's a joy to screw up. We're just all doing the best we can. We're all learning, all finding our way, whatever our way is. We have the equipment. We're in a body. We'll stop now and recite the 4 vows.